Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria of Through the Peacock's Eyes. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the 2021 Year Ahead Vedic Astrology readings. These readings will be based on your Vedic Astrology ascendant or moon sign. You can listen to both to kind of get a fuller picture of the year ahead. If you don't know your Vedic Astrology ascendant or moon sign, you can Google search a free online Vedic Astrology calculator and you should be able to get those there. Make sure it says it is Vedic Astrology or Indian Astrology or Sidereal Astrology, so you can get the correct signs. And they'll likely to be a sign different than your Western astrology ones, though there is a little overlap in there as well. Now, during these videos, I may reference a few of the things, the books, the decks I've created that I created to help other people learn Vedic astrology. The first one is my book, Shedding Light on Jyotisha, Vedic Astrology for Beginners, and I have a video or two on my channel where I talk about that a little bit more in depth, but the links are all down below in the description box if you're interested in checking that out. I also have a Vedic Astrology Oracle and the Vedic Astrology Study Deck, which would be a great tool to learn Vedic astrology. I also have a course, Shedding Light on Your Karma and Dharma in Vedic Astrology. It's a mini course. It's about an hour and a half long. Bunch of little videos broken up, and it's only $11. Again, the link is below if you want to check that out to start to learn how to look at your chart and look at your karma and dharma. Like, why are you here? What are you here to do? What are you here to learn? How are you here to grow? I will be hopefully soon in the new year have my next course, which I go through the nakshatras in Vedic astrology. Journey through the nakshatras is probably the title. I haven't officiated that yet. So hopefully that will be out soon or in the early part of 2021. And if you're interested in a reading for the year ahead, Vedic astrology, I also do Western astrology, tarot readings. Those you can purchase on my website. I will be reopening readings November 22nd or so. I've been closed for a while to focus on my book. So you can sign up for my newsletter to be notified or just check back to my website, juliannevictoria.com. Again, links are all below if you want to book a reading with me or schedule a recorded reading for the year ahead for you. Okay, all that being said, let's move on to your horoscope for the year ahead. The charts you will see will be charts laid out based on your ascendant or moon sign, so you, the viewer, can have a clearer understanding of where the transits are as the year begins and how that lays out for you for the year ahead. All right, thank you everyone and enjoy your reading. Hi Gemini, welcome to your 2021 Year Ahead Vedic Astrology reading or horoscope. So I have a chart pulled up here to show where the planets are on January 1st as the year begins, which is sort of lays the groundwork for the year ahead. I've adjusted it so Gemini is here in the first house, and you can listen to this again if you're Gemini ascendant or Gemini moon. Okay, so let's start here. Let's start with this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which has been going on for quite a while. I did make a video where I discuss working together with the Jupiter and Saturn transit because they do this dance together and separate and back together and separate. It's about a 2-year transit. I discuss all the dates in Western and Vedic astrology in that video, and I will pin it at the top of the comments below for you if you want to check that out. Okay, so we have Jupiter and Saturn here conjoined in the sign of Capricorn. And this is your 8th house, Gemini. So in this combination, I've been saying Saturn has the upper hand. And I say that for 2 reasons, because Saturn rules Capricorn. He's very, very happy here. And Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn. Now, that doesn't mean Jupiter's energy is just done and gone, but it is highly restricted if you don't work with the Saturn energy. So Saturn requires patience. Saturn's energy slows things down. It needs focus, discipline, hard work. Saturn also likes to lay solid foundations. And if you work with that Saturn energy, as in you don't rush things, you don't try to bulldoze and ignore any challenges and obstacles that come up, because when those challenges and obstacles come up with Saturn's transit, you want to understand why. So it's either not the right time, not the right thing, you need to do something else first, or Saturn's trying to steer you on a better path that will be beneficial for you long term. So Saturn doesn't like quick payoffs. He wants things to last long term for you. So if you work with his energy, which does require slowing down and being patient and being sidetracked at times, it can be quite beneficial. And when you do that, then Jupiter has some freedom to bring in growth and expansion in whatever you are focusing on, working hard at, and being patient with. Now, 8th house is a house of death, change, and transformation. Saturn also triggers transformation. So this can be a very transformative time for you, Gemini. Saturn has been here in 2020. He's here all year 2021 and into 2022. His transit is about 2.5 years per sign, approximately, depending on retrogrades. Jupiter is here for about 2/3 of the year. But really, it's this Saturn transit that is most important for you because, one, Saturn rules Capricorn, and Saturn and 8th house both represent transformation. So this can be a time of great change for you. It can be change out in your external life. That depends on how these transits lay on your natal chart. So if you're familiar with it, you can kind of see that here with the way I've laid out the chart for you. But it's going to be a lot of inner transformation, especially because Saturn's here in the 8th house. 8th house also is the esoteric, the occult, the mystical. Astrology is included with that, as well as all that which is hidden, secret, and our shadow self. So this can bring about a lot of shadow work for many Geminis out there, a lot of journeying within to understand your own mysteries. So you'll have to see how that plays out. And though that work itself can be very challenging, if you work at it, if you bring in that Saturn discipline, it's going to bring tremendous growth for you as a soul being. And that in turn will bring in great growth in your external life, depending on what it is you do. Okay, so Jupiter's energy here, when it has that flexibility, that freedom to bring in growth and expansion, will help expand anything wherever your Saturnine focus is during this transit, during this year ahead, 2021. Jupiter's negative side is excess. And with him being debilitated here and conjoined Saturn, there's almost no worry of excess. Like, that's kind of the positive side of debilitation, is the negative aspects of planets are lessened quite a bit. So working with these two energies together, there can be tremendous inner growth through focus and discipline, and bring about changes in your life, internal and external, that will bring in growth and expansion for you long term. And again, that's as long as you don't fight the Saturn energy. Okay. And just to point out, Jupiter is here until middle of April. Then he moves into Aquarius, which Saturn also rules in Vedic astrology, but it's much lighter and freer and airier. Jupiter's not debilitated here. He's in Aquarius until mid-April, until September, when he retrogrades back into Capricorn with Saturn, until the end of November, and then December and into 2022, he's in Aquarius. Your 9th house is spirituality. So it's like those times when Jupiter is in the 9th house. It's when you get to bring any deep internal transformation out into the external world and then beyond. Okay. So let's look at the nodes next, Gemini. So we have Rahu here, also called North Node in Western astrology, in Taurus, Ketu here in Scorpio. They're always opposite each other. They're in opposite houses here. Ketu is called South Node in Western astrology, if you're coming from that perspective. The nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, some sources say they're exalted, some sources say they're debilitated, others say that happens in Sagittarius, Gemini. Though there is a hint of them being a little bit stronger here on this axis, because they are the karmic nodes. I see them as very strong wherever they are. So let's look at Rahu here in Taurus in your 12th house. So 12th house is the house of the psyche, the collective unconscious, moksha, liberation, yoga, meditation, spiritual seeking, psychology, emotional health and well-being. And with this combination of Saturn, along with Jupiter in your 8th house, and Rahu in your 12th, Rahu looking at your 8th house, has a drishti on your 8th house. This brings in like extra focus and determination. Rahu is motivation and ambition. It's the head of the snake. It can also be illusion, but I'm not feeling much of that illusion energy, especially because there is so much Saturnine focus here on 8th house energy, that Rahu here just adds to your drive to explore, to understand within, so your psyche, to understand what you're all about, and that can add to enhance shadow work or understanding your complexes, your psychology, but also like, what does that mean for you spiritually? I'm getting a lot of like astral travel. 12th house is also dream work, so explore like information coming through your dreams or astral traveling, or somehow through meditation, through visions that come into you, depending on if you have a meditation practice, that bring great insights and help you to explore those other aspects of yourself, Gemini. So there's you can call this great spiritual exploration, but it feels very psychological and psychical within the psyche that comes about for you. So very interesting, but it feels very enlightening and bringing about great revelations that then shift your understanding of who you are on the inside. Okay. Now, opposite Rahu, of course, we have Ketu, the south node, as I mentioned, in Scorpio, the transformation sign. So there's a strong transformation element here related to your psyche. In the 6th house is work, health, daily routine. I often call it the chore house. In your everyday routine, whether it is technically work related, that depends on your own natal chart and the planets there. But your daily routine that affects your overall health and well-being. With Ketu's energy here. So Ketu in a natal chart represents past karma, past lives. He's also spiritual seeking, separation. And in these 2021 readings, I'm feeling very strongly that Ketu represents the past year, specifically 2020, and all that we have separated from, or the experience of social isolation. And this is in your 6th house of daily routine. So whatever you have learned from any social isolation, lockdown, etc. of 2020, that goes into 2021 a bit, it's shifted your daily routine and will continue to bring about changes in your daily routine that facilitate all this spiritual, psychological, psyche work. You want to bring in the spiritual seeking element of Ketu into your everyday life. So that could be, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and meditate for 45 minutes or something. Or I'm going to set aside time for my day, my busy, hectic day, if you have one, and just sit quietly under a tree after I have lunch. It's bringing those elements into your daily life. And if you already do that, it's going to enhance that and bring it in more. And then alter. Bring about changes, transform your daily routine so that possibly by the end of 2021 or possibly into 2022, because the nodes are in this position until spring or March 2022, Northern Hemisphere spring, you might see those alterations taking place. And by then, your daily routine, even your health routines, how you set up and organize your day, looks very different than it did in 2020. And the nodes moved into this position in September 2020. And they're in signs for approximately 18 months, year and a half. Now with Ketu here, we have Venus as the year begins, and that brings in an element of beautifying, even though this isn't the house of space, beautifying your space, whether that's your home, your work, other places, wanting to be in more beautiful spaces, whether you actively do it yourself or you seek those out, so that your daily life, your everydayness, is more conducive and facilitates what is all going on deep within you. And all that then enhances the rest of your life, the physical, external life. And that is like a big part of what the foundational energy of Saturn is trying to do here. But work with it. You got to work with Saturn's energy. Okay. Over here in your 7th house of relationships, specifically spouse, partner, but I also include like your closest relationships, your close circle of friends, your best friend, your business partners, we have the Sun and Mercury. Now in these 2021 readings, what I'm feeling with the Sun is where our greatest joy and happiness comes in this year ahead. Not that there isn't joy and happiness in other areas, but it's like the brightest light. In a natal chart, the Sun represents your soul. So your greatest joy comes from your closest relationships. Your greatest joy comes from those who are nurturing and supportive of the inner things going on, whether you share that with them or not. But Gemini, you're likely to communicate what's going on within with someone. And we have your ruler Mercury here with the Sun, wanting to talk to those closest to you. This can bring in new close relations, new best friends. I want to say possibly even a guru for some of you. And I say that because Jupiter, guru, rules Sagittarius, the 7th house, your 7th house. Wanting to find people to talk to, new friends, new close-knit community, to talk about all this inner stuff. And that brings you great joy and also brings in joyous relationships. So for those of you Geminis who are not in a partnership, this can, I want to say down the line, bring in someone with whom you have this close connection, a partner with whom you can, Gemini, Mercury energy, talk to about things, and who is supportive. And then that just lights you up. That brings you your greatest joy and happiness this year. Okay. Over here in your 11th house is your gains from your career, so financial gains, your income, etc. It's also the network you make. It's also personal network, friends, and acquaintances. Not your closest relations, that's 7th house, but your friends and acquaintances, and those you might know like through online, through the internet. We have Mars here in his own sign of Aries, so he's very strong as the year begins, laying out a foundation for lots of activity, lots of social activity, basically. Mars rules activity, action, sports, he's energy. He is also conflict, though I haven't felt that conflict energy in any of the readings. You're the first reading where I feel like some of this conflict energy can come in, and this could be conflict with acquaintances. Like this could be like arguing online, which is what I'm kind of getting. And what I would say, Gemini, especially with all this other energy going on, if there's someone who leaves nasty comments on something, let's say you have a blog or it's a forum, or someone a friend who lives far away, and you're emailing or texting, and there's great conflict, I would say just let it go. Let it go. Because that's going to greatly disrupt all this inner spiritual psychological work that is the on the forefront of your year ahead energy. Now, otherwise, this is a lot of, an active social life, whether it is online still for a while or, out meeting people, doing things with friends, going to maybe meditation groups or whatever it might be. A lot of activity. And I think you're the 12th or the 11th run I'm doing here, 11th 2021 reading, and every single one so far has had some indication that there will be more social activity and connecting to other people in different ways, of course, in 2021, which is a good sign that the pandemic will lessen and hopefully go away or just be under control in 2021. Mars ruling sports and physical activities can also be that a part of your increase in social activity has to do with joining some sort of sports group, or you join a group and you play tennis once a week, or you decide to train for a marathon and you join a running group. So it can involve physical activity, which I actually do recommend because of all this 12th 8th house energy focus here and the Scorpio energy here in your 6th house. And that can be part of the daily routine changes that help your spiritual process. Because sports can, when you get in that zone, when you're doing your sports, can be a type of meditation. And it also helps to ground you in the physical, which you probably know you need to do because you are an air sign, and balance all this psychological, spiritual energy going on. So that's important to have that balance. Okay. And lastly, we have, excuse me, the moon here in her own sign of Cancer. Let me take a sip of water. Okay, the moon in her own sign of Cancer. Emotions, lots of emotions, highly, I want to say a lot of empathic awareness comes in this year. So second house is house of gains. Typically money, finances, our possessions. I call it the house of stuff. It's also the house of what you value, tangible and intangible, and your self-worth. But interesting, what I'm picking up here with this strong moon in her own sign of Cancer in your second house, that it's about emotional gains in 2021. So that ties in emotional gains with, being able, having people to talk to, close relations, those bonds lighting up, or maybe new ones coming in, and you gain emotionally and the sense of emotional connection with others. I'm also getting that some Geminis open up more emotionally this year, which helps to balance out, the mercurial energy of you, Gemini, because Mercury is the intellectual mind. And this can also play out as your intuitive awareness. You gain greater intuitive awareness. And that in turn can help when it comes to things like money and finances and possessions and the things you own, like intuitively knowing, like, you know what, I think I need to invest this money, or now is a good time to buy that new couch, and so on. So listen to your intuitive and emotional guidance this year. It's I would say it's enhancing to some degree for Geminis out there. Okay, that is your 2021 year ahead overview, Gemini. Thank you for watching. Share this with other Geminis that you know. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and I'll see you back here soon.